I'm with Keith Ferry, Champion Norwich breeder. Thanks for having me, Keith.
That's no problem.
Pleasure being here.
It is a pleasure having you down here.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Yeah,
thanks a lot.
And
I've just stepped into his bedroom. It's just done in. And he's got lovely fields at the back. His bed's just bed feeding. I'll have to get that on camera. It's a fantastic bedroom.
well, you'll come at a very busy time of the year where the breeding is on my second round now.
Mm.
And the first round are being winged off into the flights. What I keep is Norwich, that's what I specialise in, and I've been keeping them for nearly 50 years now. Well, it could be 50 or plus.
Why Norwich, Keith? Why did you get into Norwich?
Well, it's all...
What got you into Norwich, or did you start?
As a child, as I grew up, where we lived, backing onto fields, I spent most of my life as a child down the fields.
Right.
And
Bird watching.
Bird watching, nesting in them days, collecting eggs.
You were a bird watcher?
Yeah, well, but more so collecting eggs in them days. I was a young lad.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a problem in them days. I mean, obviously you can't do it now. I mean, it's against the law. But that's how I got interested in the birds, and I began to know different types of British finches and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then in my teens, before I went to work, I kept pigeons, racing pigeons. And then I left school and went to work, and then as I got older in my teens, then of course it was the other type of birds we were interested, if you know what I mean.
Done a bit of that.
And so the keeping birds, keeping pigeons, all that went to the side, and eventually I got married and we had our first child, and I needed a hobby. So what was I going to go into? And I kept a food. I thought I'd build an aviary, and I kept a food for Australian finches. I did then, wax bills, Bengalese and stuff like that.
I didn't know you kept wax bills.
This was when I first started.
Right.
Don't ask me any questions
now.
I was gonna. I don't know. You know, I'm probably an expert in canaries, or in my field, but them finching now. I mean, from there, I built these aviaries, and I thought, I went back thinking I'd like some British finches. So I built this big aviary, and I had linnets, goldfinches and stuff like that.
Wow.
And somebody had said to me, I've had a guy living in the next village who keeps British birds, and he also crosses muley. I thought, well, I'd be interested to go and see him. And when I went to see these mules, it just blew my mind. The colours of these mules, these goldfinch mules they were breeding, these linnet mules, and I thought I've got to have a go at that. But he gave me advice. Best canary to breed a good mule is a Norwich Canary. Never heard of Norwich Canary. And he gave me some advice to go and see a guy near Peterborough, and I went and I fell in love with him. And I bought these some knowledge off him, some muling, and I finished up, couldn't breed nothing. You've got to have a lot of experience to breed mules, like this guy had been breeding them all his life. And I ain't got the experience, I won't breed nothing. But I went to see him and he gave me some very sound advice. He said, look, pick a bird you really like and master that first before you go into something else. And I thought, well, what am I going to go in for? I love these knowledge, especially the colour-fed knowledge. That's what I'm going to do it for. And that's it. I've never looked back since. I've never kept anything else by the Norwich and the feeders, because with these Norwich, they're big lethargic birds and they're difficult to breed. So we have feeders to foster the youngsters. And what I started keeping was the fife a few years back. So now I'm establishing a good stud of fife with a like them. But as we've gone on, I'm trying, you know, you have to guarantee to get youngsters, you have to guarantee your first round. So they do go under feeders. Second round, I try to get my Norwich to feed, get that instinct back into them. And this year I've got a few Norwich feeding. That's a bit of my history. I've been keeping Norwich now 50 years.
Have they changed much over the years when you?
They are. When I first started,
yeah.
when I first started in the early 70s, it would have been 1970s. They were big feathery birds.
But they have changed.
They're big. And I know when I bought my stock, I used to go to a guy, like I say, near Peterborough, a guy called Frank Brudnell. He used to get his birds in them days from Fred Storer. And Fred Storer didn't like those big birds. He kept a nice, tidy Norwich. And I think it was drummed into me from this Frank Brudnell. Forget about these real big feathery birds because you'll have trouble with them. Breeding, everything. You should go for a nice, neat, tight bird. And I think that's been drummed into me. And that's what I've bred over the years. And I've tried to establish a stud, which I've got now, which is very good feather, and the model now is based on a good quality feathered bird. And you'll find a lot of them shows the Norwich doing well because it is a good quality feathered tight bird.
What makes a good Norwich? Do you think here?
Well, for the start, it's what they call a tight canary. So you breed it to tight. So you go for the standard, and you need to breed it to near to that standard. Well, that's what you're trying to do. Breed that bird identical to that standard. And anything like short and cobby, and that's the main thing. That you know, if it's on a point system, 25 points goes for type. Then it goes from the head, wing, condition, colour, and so forth. So it is a type bird. So if you've got a short bird and it's near to that standard, that's what you're aiming for.
Right.
And then of course, with Norwich, it's the pairing. Years ago when I first started, they still had a lot of double buffies because they wanted this extra length of feather, like, and broader feather, getting a bigger bird. And it's only feather, but they did have problems. They had feather tips, what they call lumps.
Yeah, I've had experience with them.
Yeah.
Red Thatcher's terrible.
Yeah. Well, it's double buffing and bad feather, a coarse feather.
What caused them, sis? Is it?
Well, it's because of the width of the feather, trying to break out, it can't. And the feather grows under the skin, creating this cyst.
Right.
Right, and it's
terrible.
And this is where I try to drum into people. It's knowing your type of feather, because there's different types of feather. You can get. For the start, you have to breed buff to yellow. You must.
Knowing what to.
Yeah. We're novice.
Yeah.
I mean, Gloucester's, a lot of people is buff, but they do bring a yellow in now because the same reason they were having the problem. But they do bring a yellow in. To help the quality of feather. But then you've got different types of feather. It can be yellow, it can be buff, but it can be coarse, it can be fine. So it's knowing how to pair the birds up. You can't have two coarse feathered birds together, and you can't have two fine feathered birds together. Right. If you get two fine feathered birds, it's going to be real short feathers. You're going to have two coarse feathered birds, you're going to have a rough looking tight bird. So it's knowing the feather as well, and so a lot of people don't understand the
by eye.
Yeah.
How did you learn that, people? Just from experience?
It's experience. I mean, 50 years of breeding, you tend to, as soon as you see a bird, you know what type of feather it is. It is difficult to explain it to somebody, but you pick it up by experience.
Is it a visual thing?
Yeah.
How would a beginner? Or is it just...
Well, a beginner needs to take advice from an experienced breeder. Simple as that.
That's it, yeah.
No, I mean...
I didn't know that. I didn't know that about the feather types, and
Oh yeah.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah. And people are today in the Norwich section are understanding that, you know, they're going to breed this stock. And you still got to have a bit of size, don't get me wrong. You can't keep getting this bird getting smaller and smaller.
So they have got smaller.
Compared to the 60s. But the standard has never changed. The standard is what the length of the bird from the tip of its beak to the tip of its tail is 6 to 6¼ inches. Around 15 centimetres, right? And it was in the old days, but you get, you know, the trend, you have trends through the hobby, and people in them days in the 50s, 60s, early 70s wanted big birds. I mean, they couldn't get them out of the cage. And you could...
You remember?
Well, yeah. But the quality is there now. And a lot of times you'll see that if there's a best bird in, it comes to the Canaries, if it's a good Norwich, there ain't much other Canary would beat it. And also the depth, you know, the colour. I mean, you can breed a damn good bird and spoil it on colour feeding. So you've got to know how to colour feed them as well. So there's a lot of skill.
Yeah. How do you colour feed them, or is it too complicated?
Well, no. I mean, there's agent now, which is Carophil.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first started, it used to be the Spanish red pepper.
Remember that?
Yeah, you buy it from your way.
I don't remember it. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It
was. You always bought it from Hayes, and you still can. I liked it them days because it got an oil base in it as well. It gave that shine on the bird.
Right.
But you've got to know how to mix it then, and the ratio of mixing that with the egg food and getting it into the birds. But with Carophil orange, and Carophil orange is a mixture of Carophil red and Carophil yellow. Right, so it's 60% red and 40% yellow to bring it down to the orange. And what I like about the orange is you can't burn the bird. When you used to have Carophil red, you've got to know exactly how much to give them. Why you give it in the water or in the egg food. But if you overdone it, you've got this goldfinch glaze when they were finishing around the face.
Yeah.
And they look burned. Well, Carophil orange, it's much simpler and you don't tend to burn them. You still got to have a bit of experience on, like, when you start colour feeding, you start colour feeding when the youngsters, the first round are 8 weeks old. The second round 6 weeks old, because they catch up. And then once the flighty birds start dropping food feathers, you put them straight on it. And then you have to feed the colour food right through until they finish molting. But when you're giving it every day for the start, so it's in their system, that's fine. But as they get through the molt, and they're molting the finer feathers around the face, etc., you cut it down 2 or 3 times a week. Because you put too much into it.
Yeah, and then you can't backtrack.
No. So this is what I'm saying. You can breed a storming bird to spoil it on colour feed. So there is a. Oh yeah. I mean, people have done. You see it on the show bench, and you think, "Christ, what's he done there?" You know, or the other way, they haven't given enough. So there is. I mean, it's only 5 points for colour, which is very minimal. But if you've got a bird that is really good colour, then it's going to, and it's good type, it's going to take the judge's eye, isn't it?
Yeah. I've done it with my red factors because I'm not the best at. I realised how difficult colour feed was.
Yeah.
And then I'd get like a couple of botches, and I think, well, this can go out of plan. When you go to a show and you see bird, it's just beautiful colour. Well, I just feed them this. No, that's not as easy. It's
No, there's an art to it. And this is where the, what can I say, that keeping Norwich, you can have a few nightmares. They are difficult, they can test you. But when you breed a good one, it's worth be that trouble.
Are they quite a placid bird, or are they aggressive, or?
No, they're not aggressive. They're very placid.
As a pair.
And they're quite lethargic. Oh no, I mean, some hens. I mean, if they don't want to pair to a certain bird, they'll fight it
I'll
off.
let you know.
I'll let you know. Generally, they're not too bad. You can handle them more as well. You know, you can. The big difference between Norwich is when you take a bird into a show cage, you handle it. The bird gets used to your hand.
Yeah.
Well, you get the five, you train them to come into the training cages, and the smaller birds like your red factor, you don't handle them too much because they're very active birds. They'll soon be out your hand, but Norwich won't thrive that far.
Right.
Well, I'm saying that.
Yeah.
Hence me keeping flights, because my birds, to get them fit, they need to do a bit of flying. And my birds will fly. But not like the five. You get the five out the cage and they'll fly all round. There's a job to catch them, but the didn't catch no problem, because they're a bigger bird, more featherized.
You ever kept borders, or?
No.
No, not your thing.
No.
There is a thing about Norwich, I must admit. Where did they originate from?
Well, the Norwich Canary, I mean, we all know the canary comes from the wild canary, from the Canary Island, and then it's been progressed and developed through different parts of the country. So Norwich is obviously from the city of Norwich, right? And those canaries first originated from the Flemish weavers who were persecuted on the continent, fled the continent, all this religion stuff in the 16th century, and settled down around the city of Norwich. And then there was a big boom around Norwich for
bullfinches.
the bullfinch, flying around chasing the cock.
Yeah.
No. But there was an industry of canary breeding around the city of Norwich, which were exported. A lot went to America.
Right.
Or you know, because we know the canaries went down the mines, etc.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a different type of canary to look at than what we're breeding today. But so the Norwich have been going from the 16th century and developed through the stages and through the century.
Are they big in America?
I know a few keep on the nowhere near as like we are here. But I mean, what I was saying in the 16th and 17th century, the Victorian times, when the coal industry, etc. Certain people they exported thousands to America in their days. And I'll tell you a person who I met in Norwich, and we discussed it, was on television, Ed Ball, the ex-MP. His great-great-grandfather was one of the exporters.
Wow.
Canaries.
Wow.
Norwich canaries to America.
Wow, amazing, really.
Yeah.
Wow. If there was any secrets about breeding, what would it be true? Or stuff you need to stick to as a beginner or getting started? You think of?
Well,
I won't do that again. Or
well, if somebody's coming into canaries who's had no experience whatsoever with canaries, I would not advise them to go straight into Norwich. I would advise them to get a year or two's experience with something like five or your new colours, just to get the experience of breeding. And if their eye is set on the Norwich, then come back and pick up as much advice from an experienced breeder. That's my advice.
Like yourself.
Yeah. And I have encouraged a lot of novices in that way.
Picking up experience.
Yeah. I mean, I've got no secrets. I'd pass all my advice, any advice to anybody. It's just to encourage the hobby and get people into it.
Now, is it still doing okay? The Norwich,
Well, no,
people are saying about the farm and But it still seems, I go to the shows and I see people like yourself, and the amount of weight that goes into it, I'm just like, wow, it's just stunning. So
there isn't the birds that were when I first started.
Really?
I mean, I can remember showing up the Old English National when you could see, including the salesbird, mind you, that'd be a couple of hundred, 200-300.
That one show.
This is sales, but overall there'd be 900 lorries. I mean, I've judged the Old English National, where I've had one class with 50 odd in the class, up to 60 in one class, birds, in one class.
Wow.
You can't get that down. It is a dying hobby, unfortunately, and it's mainly the youngsters aren't coming into it. And, we try to encourage them into it. It's not a cheap hobby to start up with, but it is a working man's hobby, I would think, and that's how it was years ago. And it is a relaxing hobby. You can. What I found when I was working, I had a real stressful job. I was in the building trade, which I was a site manager, project manager, with all the hassle on site. And you can bring that hassle home with you, and you can lose sleep thinking about it. But when I used to come home from work, coming from my bird room, that side of my worry just went.
Yeah, it's the sound.
The birds.
It's just the sound of it, it's just relaxing. When I go in my bedroom and had a stressful day, going in the morning, just feeding, and you get to know them better. I mean, I have little favourites and stuff, but
I mean, like I say, centuries ago, it was a working man. A lot of the coal miners used to have them come home. Obviously, they had a stressful job down in the mines and come back and relax and look at their canaries. And that's what I find. I can come up here and spend hours up here with the birds.
It's a beautiful room.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're saying you take the eggs out, you remove the eggs out, you don't leave them in?
Oh, yes,
To find from different people, some of them, I don't do that. Or then somebody will say, when I was trying to learn, like, hang on, you just said, or is it just everybody's got a different...
I check mine out for the simple reason, like I say, any domestic bird will virtually sit from day one. What you don't want is these chicks hatching out every day. Because the ones what was born on day one will survive, and the ones what were born on day 4 won't survive. Simple as that. And the Norwich can, like I said earlier, they are a lethargic type of bird. They will sit on the nest from day one. Some of the smaller types may not. I've known 1 or 2 five-fields say they don't take them out, but they still have probably the last egg what's laid. Won't hatch out. They won't hatch all out on the same day.
No.
And it's a good bird to rear up a youngster what's hatched 2 or 3 days later than the first one. So I know that if the eggs are fertile, and I've took the eggs away and put them all, I always put them in the evening, and I know in 14 days on the same day. So if I put them on the evening of a Thursday night, 2 weeks later on a Thursday morning, they'll be hatching, and by that Thursday evening they'll all be hatched if they're all fertile.
Makes sense, really. It seems to make sense.
They've all got the same chance of surviving.
Are they a good singer, the Norwich?
Yes, copplers are good singers. They are nice, mate. They are definitely. You've got a good, strong song.
We do actually see something. He's got some both functions.
I've just this year for the first time, like I said earlier, in the 70s, I've kept through British. I've always loved British, and I like going up to the British guys in the British.
I saw you last year, didn't I?
That's it, yeah.
I had that leggy thing going on. People don't know that.
That's right.
Something happened, didn't there? There was some sort of flu or something going around, and
Well, I've never been so cold in a place
Yeah.
as I was up there. I mean, it was about, I don't know, 4 or 5 degrees below outside,
it was bad.
and they decided not to have any heat on in the venue because of the birds. And also, they found out there was a megavirus was in the school the week before with the kids, and the majority of people went down with this virus. Luckily, I didn't feel too good for 2 or 3 days, but a lot of people was really poorly over it. So hopefully next year they might put a little bit of heat on. I don't know.
I was going to ask you as well, what's it like when you win a big show?
Well,
Do you get a thrill from it, or is it like...
Well, the proudest moment of my life was, and what made my name, after
Because you're not in the country, are you? As a breeder.
well, after 50 years of showing and judging, and there's a lot of people know me. But obviously, I've done a 5-year novice apprenticeship,
Right.
and so that would have been in the early 70s. And in them days, when we were showing, we would have been shown down Alexandra Palace, London, and I did our best novice Norwich down there. And then when I went up to Champion, I started building my birds up, and I went to in them days, what they called the top Norwich show in the country, which was Heaton Burbage. So all the big boys, that was the hotbed. And
A hotbed.
the hotbed of Norwich. I think every other house kept Norwich. But that was the hotbed, and if you wanted to buy stock, good stock, that's where you went. But I took my birds up there, and I know a friend of mine who was a novice at the same time. We both went up to Champion at the same time. I said, well, I'm going in for birds just to see how our birds are. Now, Champion against them. And I know my friend said, well, I'm not. My birds are nowhere near good enough to do anything. I said, well, it will teach me what I'm going to do, what I'm going to find, what I'm going to... So I went up there, and yes, I got bloody hammered.
There you go.
Hammered the first time. But within 3 years, I went up there, and I 3 years on the trot, I took best Norwich in show. I beat them on my doorstep.
Did you know he was going to win, or did you know he
No, the birds developed. I brought a bird in from a good friend of mine, John West from Silverstone, who bought birds from a guy called Jack Dixon. And John let me have a cockbird which actually come out of Jack Dixon's scale, a buff cock. And that put a lot of goodness into my life. And I would say 3 years later, after being thrashed up there, I then thrashed them. So, and then I went on in 1986 to put a team of birds into the English National, and I put in a nice flighted, variegated buff hen, and it went on and took best flighted Norwich, then best Norwich, then best Canary, and then best bird in show.
Wow.
And that's really what made me name. And I think that bird, I think there was about 9,000 birds at the on that day.
Well, how did that feel?
Oh, so I've got, there's photos of me holding what they call the Haddon Trophy.
Right.
On that, there's a picture of it up there.
Right. Of course, yeah.
And I was on the stage, front page of the Cage and Aviary with me holding that up in the air. So yeah, that was like winning the FA Cup.
Wow.
So that was my proudest moment.
Wow.
From there, I've never looked back. I've showed all over the country. I've showed Scottish National. I've had best bird, But to do this, you got to be dedicated and put the hours in. It's like anything. It's like playing cricket. It's like golfing. If you're going to be good at anything, you got to put the hours in to do it.
Dedication.
Dedication. So that's That's a bit of history of me, anyway.
That's one thing I wanted to ask you there about what's it like to win a big thrill like that?
Yeah.
I just think it must be a big thrill.
It
Even
was.
if you don't show it, right? When you get out in the car park, you get it.
No, it's no, it was a great honour to pick that trophy up. That was the bird in 1986 I took best in show. When we touch round birds, I've weaned them in the flight. I don't let them fly too far. If they can fly, if I pull this slide out, they'll fly from one end to another, not what they call not back claw out, stiff claw. So they have to fly up. They're going to do that. Which I don't have the problem with stiff claw. Again, you can be a damn good bird, and no good for showing if it's got that stiff back claw. The other thing that helps to prevent that is natural perches from the edge row, so they can grip it better. Yeah, so 1986, as I said, I took best bird at the English National. I actually repeated it in 2021.
Did it again?
2 years ago. Yeah, this is trophy just round there, which I'll keep as well. Crystal trophy.
Wow.
So it's Stafford.
Stafford.
Yeah, the Stafford show, which they class as the English National. It's not on the same par as the old English National, but I did take best bird in show there in 2021. I've been knocking on the door previous to that for 2 or 3 years, having best canary there, but it did go on and take best bird in show in 2021.
What's your secret, Keith?
Just
not reaching sound.
That's right. And
Not time.
the other thing is presenting a bird properly. I mean, the bird's got to be clean. It's got to. I've got to say, it's a tight canary, and so it's got to be as near to perfection to the standard as possible. But also got to show it the best you can. In a very, it's got to present itself well. It's got to be steady. It's got to catch the judge's eye.
Where it stands as well.
Yeah, it's got to stand at 45 degrees. It's got to show. It's got to have a bit of movement without flying all over the place. And to have something, it's like the Mona Lisa. The Mona Lisa is the perfect picture to people's eyes, but it's also sitting in a lovely frame. So your showcase has got to be spotless. It's got to shine. Everything's got to be perfect.
Right. All that comes into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's a lovely picture of a bird? A red patch of feeding the chicks there to get some food. Just amazing, really.
Yeah.
Beautiful, Keith.
Yes. Well, that's.
What?
Although you say it's a red factor, it has got red. It's got new colours in it,
Right.
but it's also got Norwich in it. So they're bigger type birds.
Right. Beautiful.
So they can give them plenty of food.
A bit on that room.
Yeah. So this is my rearing food mixture, which is egg food. You can get any different type of variety of egg food. I'm using EZM and deli mixed together, and then there is germination seed in there, and there's sweet corn, grated carrot, peas, and grated broccoli. And that's my mix. And the birds tend to like it. Everything's in there they need to bring these canaries up. And the other thing is, when they start voiding over the side of the nest, that's the time to ring the bird. So all my birds are close run. I can keep track of the records of them, where they're bred from. Also for showing, for passengers, they must be close run. If you're going to pick up specials for the mid and plain egg, the southern, places like that, they need to be close run. And then at these shows, the show secretary will take the ring number and pass that on to the secretary of the society clubs, and then they will pay out to that exhibitor. If it's an unflighted bird, it's got to be bred and rung by the exhibitor for showing. We have a nest due to us today, and this one, that's what I've hung the bath on, so she can go in there and get some moisture on her feathers, which then go into the nest. That helps to for the hatching, so the humidity's right. Now I've got a humidifier. For good hatching, the humidity in this room needs to be between 50 and 60%. But putting on the same day or the day before of hatching, if she has a bath, it also helps for the eggs to hatch. Just softens them up a little. The Norwich, we have 2 Norwiches pairs here. Well, there's one white cock there with 2 hens. She's just reared up 4. She reared 4 up on her own for the first 14 days, then I introduced the white cock back to her, and they're jumped the nest now. Another thing I do is that I drop the nest from the position of 14 days, so the hen can go back to nest in the same position. And the birds tend to stay in the nest up in that corner a lot longer. The second hen is hatched out. She had 5 fertile eggs. She's hatched 5, well, took 2 away and she's rearing 3 herself. So where people say these Norwich won't really at all, this is just proving that they will rear. And she's looking after them as fruit. We've given them the soft food for rearing, little and often is what I advise. I mean, if you're at work, obviously you can't do that. So you give them plenty in the morning and then they got that through the day. But if you give it little and often, like now I'm retired, it's fresh and they will come off the nest and feed the youngsters. Could be an end. two normals, and then this one I've got its head up is a white, which I'm pleased with. Now I'm trying to breed a few whites this year. I nearly lost my white line, but you can see now the feathers coming, that's going to be a white. Now they've just started voiding around the nest. Another day or so, and the feet getting that side, I'll be able to put the rings on without them falling off. These smaller ones here. And the other thing, I don't know whether you can see it, because I had to bring a bird, would only hatch one out, I'll recognise it before I ring it. I've felt tipped. We're down on its back. I know exactly where that's come from. As you can see, there's food in the crop, so I'm up here, she's feeding now. Bring the nest out. Best exhibit, national 2021. Yeah, I said earlier on, that's the one that, again, I took best at the National 2021, cut crystal glass trophy, which I can keep, where the other one, the old National, is you hand back after 12 months. Last year I had best exhibit, I think we spoke about Inkley and Burbage, that was the hotbed years ago, not quite so much now. But so I took best exhibit last year there. Also there Hinkley and Burbage best, the real old trophy, which has been going donkey's years. And then there's one from Stamford, which I won, a real old cup which I won last year, which I was, those I will hand back. And that shield. The shield was for best flighted Norwich. And the other thing up on the wall here is all the different places I've judged. So there's Italy, Belgium, Canada, I've done Canada twice, I've judged the American National 4 times, Germany, wow. So you know, I've judged in Italy a few times. So that's the nice thing about this hobby, once you get a name, and then you become a judge, with your experience, you get these invitations to go out and judge abroad, and it's brought friends. I've made really lovely friends around the world. I've got a guy who lives in Orlando who used to keep the Norwich. He's like a brother to me. You know, we go out to see him. We used to go out very regular. And that's, my wife puts up a lot with me being up here, the hours I put up here, but she also likes the social side of it, and we've made some really good friends around the world. First thing I go for is the peas. Peas? Yeah, yeah, the little peas, petty grass peas. I said earlier on, there's peas, sweet corn as well, and then we get different types of eggfood or butter. Yeah. That's the EGM. Right there. Yeah. And I mix all that up together with the soaked seed. This soaked seed as well. Soaked seed, germination seed that I done this morning. I shall rinse that out tonight. I put it into one of the trays, that one there. I shall rinse this out again, and then that tomorrow, this will be the one for feeding, which I'll put in the egg food. That's already kitted, and I only soaked it yesterday. It's only been going for less than 24 hours, and it's already kitted. I've got to be very careful with soap seed. Because if you don't know what you're doing, it can ruin your birds. It's got to smell fresh. If it starts to smell sour, you throw it.
Definitely, yeah.
Throw it because it will kill your bird. So you really got to have a bit of experience and know what you're doing.
You do, is it like a 2-day process or like overnight?
It's like a two. So for soaking, you could only soaking for 4 hours. But if you're working, you've got to get into a routine. I mean, I'm retired, so I do mine in the morning, rinse it out at night. Then that's what I rinsed out last night. And then that drains through the evening, and then it's in the window with the warmth, and that is already chicken. I shall rinse it once more under the tap tonight, put it back up there for draining. Tomorrow morning, that will be really fitted.
No cleaning product or anything in it or?
Yes, I do. Right. In this jar, that will have a cap, just a cap, of Milton.
Milton, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Milton fluid.
I mean, any newcomer, I would advise to buy the Milton. Now, over the years of experience, Milton is all it is a diluted bleach. So I actually put in here, this bottle is about 30 years old. I put a cap of bleach, when it's empty, a cap of bleach, put it in there and top it up with water.
Really? Right.
Which saves boiling. But if you're a novice, if you've never done it before, go out and buy the Milton until you know what you're doing. But I'd use, I mean, just common old bleach. And the cap, you pour it in the cap, pour it into the bottom, fill it with water, and that's about the right strength for me. And then I'll put a cap of that diluted bleach into there.
It's
And
down,
then
down,
that's added water, and then that soaks through that 8 hours. Just to kill, if there is any bacteria in the seed, it kills it. If it gets rancid, that's the word, rancid, and you can soon tell by the smell, throw it. Don't think you can wash it, it's rancid.
Gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, get rid.
Yeah.
Great. Well, it's been a great day, Keith.
Well,
I really appreciate having me, and your bedroom's fantastic.
Well, I'm very, very pleased to meet you.
No,
and it's been a privilege to be able to talk about the hobby, and I just hope that we can encourage people, especially younger people, into the hobby. And if anybody wants any advice, I'm always there to pass it on. And those who do watch it and keep on, then I wish them a very good breeding season, and I hope you see you on the show bench.
Great meeting you, Keith.
And you,
mate.
yeah, anytime, mate.
No, it's been a real pleasure.
Yeah.
You can allow me to film and look around your bedrooms.
Yeah.
It is pretty amazing. It is stunning. Wow. If you were there, anybody here, you'd just like, wow. Beds, they just look great as well.
Well, there's
years of experience.
There is a
you
lot.
make it look easy. Right, it is.
Well, it's like you say, it's experience, you know. Yeah. It's and the other little bit of advice I would give anybody: if you walk into your bird room and you've got a problem, don't go bull-headed into it and do this and do that. Make yourself a cup of tea, sit down and think about it. What's the best action? Because sometimes you go in straight away and it's not the best action, and you can lose birds. Think what you can do, right? I mean, a chick out the nest on the floor, you may think it's dead. Get it in your hand and blow on it. Get that warmth there to it. It's surprising how many chicks I've saved and walk around your bird room in a warm hand, and you'll feel that bird coming back to life. You might think it's dead, but if it's been out and got cold, they go into sort of hypo stage that you can bring them round.
And that's happened.
Yeah, but certain things like that, you have to stand back and think what the action to do. if you're thinking 15 minutes about it, then, you know, nothing's going to change in that 15 minutes. Apart from, like I say, if you've got a chick out, you've got to act straight away and pick it up, blow on it, get that bloody oxygen into it, warm it up. And 9 times out of 10, it's a prize and they will come back to life. But if it's something different than that, sit back and think what you're going to do. If the hen ain't feeding, right, don't go in there and think, oh, I've got to put them under that other hen because she's not feeding. Sit on a chair, have a cup of tea and watch her for a little while. Surprising the times they will go back and feed. But you'll mess her about by taking the chicks away.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, if you sit there and watch and she's definitely not going to feed, then move on. But nothing's going to change within 15 to half hour. You've got the time to think what you're going to do, where you're going to put them, if that does come. If I put them under there, what happens to her then? Just think it out.
Yeah, be a bit more methodical about it rather than just pull out and rush in. And if I'm going to, yeah.